If you're anything like me, you think New Year's resolutions are stupid. Because most people go about changing their lives in the completely wrong way. They create these resolutions because everyone else does. We create a superficial meaning out of status games. But they don't meet the requirements for true change, which goes a lot deeper than convincing yourself you're going to be more disciplined or productive this year. If you're one of these people, I'm not here to talk down on you. I've quit 10x more goals than I've achieved. I think that should be the case for most people. However, as much as I think New Year's resolutions are stupid, it's always wise to reflect on the life you hate so you can launch yourself towards something that's much better. So whether you want to start the business, transform your body, or take the risk toward a more meaningful life without quitting after 2 weeks, I want to share 7 ideas you probably haven't heard before on behavior change, psychology, and productivity, so you can do just that in 2026. This will be comprehensive. This isn't one of those letters that you read through and forget about. This is something you will want to bookmark, take notes on. 1. You aren't where you want to be because you aren't the person who would be there. When it comes to setting big goals, people tend to focus on one of the 2 requirements for success. Changing your actions to make progress toward the goal, least important, second order. Changing who you are so that your behavior naturally follows, most important, first order. Most people set a surface-level goal, hype themselves up to remain disciplined for the first few weeks, then go back to their old ways without much struggle, because they were trying to build a great life on a rotting foundation. If this doesn't make sense, let's run through an example. Think of somebody successful. It can be a bodybuilder with a great physique, a founder/CEO worth hundreds of millions, or a charismatic dude who can chat up a group. Do you think the bodybuilder has to grind to eat healthy? Does the CEO have to discipline themselves to show up and lead the team? To you, it may seem like that on the surface, but the truth is that they can't see themselves living any other way. The bodybuilder has to grind to eat unhealthily. To some people, my own lifestyle seems a bit extreme and disciplined. To me, it's natural, and I don't say that to contrast it with any other kind of lifestyle. I simply enjoy living this way. When my mom tells me that I should take a break, go out, and have some fun, I hold my tongue from telling her, if I weren't having fun, why would I be doing what I'm doing? This next sentence may sound simple, but it is baffling how many people don't get it. If you want a specific outcome in life, you must have the lifestyle that creates that outcome long before you reach it. If someone says they want to lose 30 pounds, I often don't believe them, not because I don't think they are capable, but because there are too many times when that same person says, I can't wait until I'm done losing weight so I can start to enjoy life again. I hate to break it to you, but if you don't adopt the lifestyle that led you to losing the weight for life and find a reason with a higher gravitational pull than the one tying you to your previous ways, then you will go straight back to where you started, and you can unhappily say that you wasted the resource you will never get back, time. When you truly change yourself, all of your habits that don't move the needle toward your goal become disgusting because you have a deep and profound awareness of what kind of life those actions compound into. You are okay with your current standards because you are not fully aware of what they are. 2. You aren't where you want to be because you don't want to be there. Trust only movement. Life happens at the level of events, not of words. Trust movement. If you want to change who you are, you must understand how the mind works so that you can start to reprogram it. The first step to understanding the mind is to understand that all behavior is goal-oriented. It's teleological. You take a step forward because you want to reach a certain location. You scratch your nose because you want to make the itch go away. Those ones are clear, but most of the time your goals are unconscious. You may not realize that when you sit on the couch in the middle of the day. As an example, if you can't stop procrastinating your work, you may justify it with the fact that you lack discipline, but in reality, you are attempting to achieve a goal. If you say you want to quit your dead-end job but stay in it with no real reason, you may start to think you don't have enough courage. But the truth is that you are pursuing the goal of safety, predictability, and an excuse to not look like a failure to everyone else in your life. The lesson here is that real change requires changing your goals. I don't mean setting some surface-level goal because the act of doing that serves an unconscious goal. I mean changing your point of view, because that's what a goal is. A goal is a projection into the future that acts as a lens of perception, which allows you to notice information, ideas, and resources that aid in you achieving that goal. 3. You aren't where you want to be because you're afraid to be there. The important thing for you to remember is that it does not matter in the least how you got the idea. You may never have met a professional hypnotist, you may never have been formally hypnotized, but if you have accepted an idea from yourself, your teachers, your parents, friends, and further, if you are firmly convinced that idea is true, it has the same power over you as the hypnotist's words have over the hypnotized subject. Here's how you've become who you are today and how you will become who you will be tomorrow. This is the anatomy of identity. You want to achieve a goal. You perceive reality through the lens of that goal. You only notice important information and ideas that allows you to achieve that goal, learning. You act toward that goal and receive feedback that you are progressing toward it. You repeat that behavior until it becomes automatic and unconscious, conditioning. That behavior becomes a part of who you think you are. I am the type of person who... You defend your identity to maintain psychological consistency. Your identity shapes new goals, restarting the cycle. And if that identity is disadvantageous toward a good life, this gets bad real quick. The unfortunate reality is that you must break the cycle between steps 6 and 7, but this process starts when you're a child. You have the goal of survival. You're dependent on your parents to teach you how to survive. You had to conform. And since the way most people teach is through reward and punishment, unless you adopt their beliefs and values, you will be punished. You don't actually think for yourself until you see through this. But your parents have also gone through this process throughout their entire lives. That's where it can get dangerous. To take it a layer deeper, once you fulfill your physical survival needs, you start to survive on the conceptual or ideological level. You may not try to protect and reproduce your body, but you absolutely protect and reproduce your mind. It's not difficult to see the war of ideas on the internet. When your body feels threatened, you go into fight or flight. When your identity feels threatened, the same thing happens. If you are heavily identified with a political ideology, you will feel threatened when someone challenges your beliefs. You literally feel the stress. Since most people don't analyze their emotions for truth, you tend to get stuck in echo chambers and double down on claims that harm yourself and others. If you were raised in a religious household and did not think for yourself, you will fight and attack others who threaten your psychological safety within that little bubble. The same thing happens when you unconsciously see yourself as a lawyer, a gamer, or somebody who would not take the actions to achieve a better life. 4. The life you want lies within a specific level of mind. The mind evolves through predictable stages over time. When you're born, you're like a little survival sponge that absorbs whatever beliefs you can so that you can feel safe and secure. And if you don't be careful, your mind may crystallize and it may make it difficult to live a meaningful life. This has been documented enough in models like Maslow's hierarchy, Gruder's stages of ego development, spiral dynamics, and integral theory. Here's the 80-20 of the 9 stages of ego development as a refresher. Impulsive, no separation between impulse and action, black and white thinking. Self-protective, the world is dangerous and you learn to look out for yourself, i.e., a kid learns to hide report cards, lie about chores. Conformist, you are your group, and its rules feel like reality itself. Someone who genuinely cannot fathom why anyone else would vote differently than their family. Self-aware, you notice you have an inner life that doesn't match the exterior, sitting in church and being unsure you really believe what everyone else around you seems to. Conscientious, you build your own system of principles and hold yourself accountable to them, leaving your family's religion after careful study. Individualist, you see that your principles were shaped by context and start holding them more loosely.
realizing your political views have more to do with where you grew up. Strategist, you work with systems while aware of your own involvement in them, leading an organization while actively questioning your own blind spots. Construct aware, you see all frameworks, including your identity, as useful fictions, holding your spiritual beliefs metaphorically, not literally, knowing the map is not the territory. Unitive, separation between self and life dissolves. Work, rest, and play feel like the same thing. There's no one left who needs to become anything. For most people reading this, I would assume you hover between 4 and 8, which is a huge gap. Those closer to 8 are reading this to learn something or pass time. The good thing is, it doesn't really matter what stage you're in, because moving through any of them follows a pattern. 5. Intelligence
is the ability to get what you want out of life. The only real test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life. There is a formula for success. One ingredient is agency. One ingredient is opportunity. The last ingredient is intelligence. If you have high agency but low opportunity, it doesn't matter how likely you are to act toward a goal because it isn't a goal that will bear much fruit. If you have opportunity and agency but low intelligence, then you will never be fully able to benefit from that opportunity. In terms of opportunity, I can't tell you to change your physical location, but if you don't see the abundance of digital opportunity right in front of you. With that said, I want to focus on what intelligence is. For that, we look to cybernetics. Cybernetics comes from the Greek word kyberneticus, which means to steer. It's also known as the art of getting what you want. So if Naval's definition of intelligence is getting what you want out of life, understanding cybernetics helps you do that much faster. Cybernetics illustrates the properties of intelligent systems: to have a goal, act toward that goal, sense where you are, compare it to the goal, and act again based on that feedback. You can judge intelligence based on the system's ability to iterate and persist with trial and error. A ship blown off course that corrects toward its destination. A thermostat sensing a change in heat and turning on. The pancreas excreting insulin after blood glucose spikes. Acting, sensing, comparing, and understanding the system from a meta perspective is fundamental to high intelligence. Low intelligence is the inability to learn from your mistakes. Low intelligent people get stuck on problems rather than solving them. They hit a roadblock and quit, like a writer who fails to build a readership and quits because they lack the ability to try new things, experiment, and figure out a process that works for them. High intelligence is realizing any problem can be solved on a large enough timescale. The reality is that you can achieve any goal you set your mind to. Intelligence is realizing that there is a series of choices you can make which lead to achieving the goal you want. You understand that ideas are hierarchical. When I talk about goals, I am not speaking from the typical lens of self-help. I am speaking from the lens of teleology, or the Greek kosmos, that everything serves a purpose. Goals determine how you see the world. Goals determine what you consider success or failure. You can try to enjoy the journey, but if you pursue the wrong goal, you will not enjoy it. Your mind is the operating system for reality. That system is composed of goals. For most people, those goals are assigned to them, programmed like lines of code in your psyche. Go to school, get the job, get offended, play victim, retire at 65. A known path that doesn't work. To become more intelligent, you must reject the known path, dive into the unknown, set new, higher goals to expand your mind. Embrace the chaos and allow for growth. Study the generalized principles of nature. Become a deep generalist. How to launch into a completely new life in one day. The best periods of my life always came after a period of getting absolutely fed up. How do you dig into your mind? How do you become aware of your conditioning? How do you reach profound insights and truths that change the trajectory of your life? Through the simple but often painful act of questioning, something that so few people do, and you can tell by how they speak or give their thoughts on a specific topic. I want to give you a comprehensive protocol that you can use every year to reset your life and launch into a season of intense progress. This will require 1 full day to complete, so I recommend you follow along with the exact protocol. You will need a pen, paper, and an open mind. When I observe patterns in people who successfully flip their identity, it happens fast after a buildup of tension. Specifically, I've noticed 3 phases. Dissonance. They feel like they don't belong in their current life and become sufficiently fed up with their lack of progress. Uncertainty. They don't know what comes next, so they either experiment or get lost and feel worse. Discovery. They discover what they want to pursue and make 6 years of progress in 6 months. So our goal with this protocol is to help you reach the point of dissonance, navigate through uncertainty, and discover what it truly is that you want to achieve. So much so that the clarity is overwhelming and distractions no longer hold their weight. This protocol is structured so that it can be completed in 1 day. In the morning, you do a psychological excavation to uncover your own hidden motives. During the day, you prompt yourself with interrupts to keep you out of autopilot and contemplate your life. At night, you synthesize the insights. I cannot guarantee that this will work for everyone, because I cannot guarantee that everyone reading this is in the right chapter of their own story. Part 1. Morning. Psychological excavation. Vision and anti-vision. First, we must create a new frame, or lens of perception for your mind to operate from. This is like creating a new shell, leaving your old one and slowly growing into it over time. It won't feel like it fits at first. That's a good thing. Set aside 15 to 30 minutes to think about and answer these questions. Do not attempt to outsource this contemplation to AI. I want you to break past the limiter that is on your mind. What is the dull and persistent dissatisfaction you've learned to live with? Not the deep suffering, but what you've learned to tolerate. What do you complain about repeatedly but never actually change? Write down the 3 complaints you voiced most often in the past year. For each complaint, what would someone who watched your behavior, not your words, conclude that you actually want? What truth about your current life would be unbearable to admit to someone you deeply respect? Those questions are meant to make you aware of the pain in your current life. Now we need to turn those into what I call an anti-vision. If absolutely nothing changes for the next 5 years, describe an average Tuesday. Where do you wake up? What does your body feel like? Now do it, but for 10 years. What have you missed? What opportunities closed? Who gave up on you? What do people say about you when you're not in the room? You're at the end of your life. You lived the safe version. You never broke the pattern. What was the cost? What did you never let yourself feel, try, or become? Who in your life is already living the future you just described? Someone 5, 10, 20 years ahead on the same trajectory. What do you feel when you think about becoming them? What identity would you have to give up to actually change? What would it cost you socially to no longer be that person? What is the most embarrassing reason you haven't changed? The one that makes you sound weak, scared, or lazy, rather than reasonable. If your current behavior is a form of self-protection, what exactly are you protecting, and what is that protection costing you? If you answered those truthfully, and if you are in the right chapter of your own life, you will feel a deep sense of dis-ease and possibly disgust for how you are currently living. Now we need to orient that energy in a positive direction. We need to create a minimum viable vision, because your vision is like a product. It starts out unclear, but with time and experience, it grows stronger and more potent. Forget practicality for a minute. If you could snap your fingers and be living a different life in 3 years, not what's realistic, what you actually want, what does an average Tuesday look like? What would you have to believe about yourself for that life to feel natural rather than forced? Write the identity statement. I am the type of person who. What is one thing you would do this week if you were already that person? Part 2. Throughout the day, interrupting autopilot, breaking unconscious patterns. These journaling exercises are cute, but we want real change. Frankly, that's not going to happen if you don't break the current unconscious patterns that are keeping you the same. Throughout the day,
I want you to contemplate on everything you journaled in part 1. Beyond that, I don't want you to forget to contemplate. Take the time right now to create reminders or calendar events in your phone. Include the question in the reminder or event so that you can immediately start thinking about it. 11 a.m. What am I avoiding right now by doing what I'm doing? 1:30 p.m. If someone filmed the last 2 hours, what would they conclude I want from my life? 3:15 p.m. Am I moving toward the life I hate or the life I want? 5 p.m. What's the most important thing I'm pretending isn't important? 2:30 p.m. When did I feel most alive today, and when did I feel most dead? What would change if I stopped needing people to see me as the identity you wrote in question 10? Where in my life am I trading aliveness for safety? What's the smallest version of the person I want to become that I could be tomorrow? Part 3. Evening. Synthesizing insight, entering a season of progress. If you followed that process, I would be surprised if you didn't have at least one profound insight. Now we need to make those known, integrate them into who we are, and act on them to begin our journey to a new level of mind. After today, what feels most true about why you've been stuck? What is the actual enemy? Name it clearly. Not circumstances, not other people, the internal pattern or belief that has been running the show. Write a single sentence that captures what you refuse to let your life become. This is your anti-vision compressed. It should make you feel something when you read it. Write a single sentence that captures what you're building toward, knowing it will evolve. This is your vision MVP. Lastly, we need to create goals. Again, these aren't
Goals that you set for the sake of achievement, because goals are just projections. They're unreliable and make you feel bound to something that will inevitably change. Instead, think of goals as a point of view. Do not worry about some kind of finish line, because as we will find, it doesn't exist. Enjoyment is found in progress. 1 year lens. What would have to be true in 1 year for you to know you've broken the old pattern? One concrete thing. 1 month lens. What would have to be true in 1 month for the 1 year lens to remain possible? Daily lens. What are 2 to 3 actions you can time block tomorrow that the person you're becoming would simply do? Part 7. Turn your life into a video game. The optimal state of inner experience is one in which there is order in consciousness. This happens when psychic energy or attention is invested in realistic goals and when skills match the opportunities for action. The pursuit of a goal brings order in awareness because a person must concentrate attention on the task at hand and momentarily forget everything else. You now have all of the components that lead to a good life. Now it may be helpful to organize all of your insights into one coherent plan. Pull out a new page and write down these 6 components: anti-vision, vision, 1 year goal, 1 month project, daily levers, constraints. Why is this so powerful? Because these components literally create your own little world. If you are meant to pursue this hierarchy of goals at this stage of your life, you will have no other option but to become obsessed. You will feel the pull to something greater. You will not see anything else as an option. You turn your life into a video game, because games are the poster child for obsession, enjoyment, and flow states. They have all the components that lead to focus and clarity. So if we reverse engineer what those components are, we can live in a state of deeper enjoyment. Your vision is how you win, at least until the game evolves. Your anti-vision is what's at stake, what happens if you lose or give up. Your 1 year goal is the mission. This is your sole priority in life. Your 1 month project is the boss fight, how you gain XP and acquire loot. Your daily levers are the quests, the daily process that unlocks new opportunities. Your constraints are the rules, the limitations that encourage creativity. All of these act as a concentric set of circles, like a force field, that guard your mind from distractions and shiny objects. The more you play the game, the stronger this force becomes, and soon enough it becomes who you are, and you wouldn't have it any other way. This is how you fix your entire life in one day. Not by changing everything overnight, but by creating the framework that makes change inevitable. The protocol is complete. Now begins the real work, and that work is play.